Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to. Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones and twos, back from the homeland, Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard. How are you guys?
Hey.
Guys, we're going to get into it real quick. Go to SamTripoli.com, get dates to my shows. I got a lot of great shows coming up. Last night's Comedy Chaos was one of the best shows of all time. And we want
People didn't want to leave.
Yeah, it was the longest show and the room was packed. Real quick before we bring the guest in, just go to SamTripoli.com again. And we have a whole bunch of new t-shirts. The Jackson 5. We have Go Back One More Too, and then we have the new one, King of the Truth. Check that out. Those are great. Those are great designs. Great way to support the show. So many new shirts. But go to SamTripoli.com. New dates are up. Join me. Have fun. Talking smack. So we are in it. I am very excited to have this guest on. I love his videos. You can follow him on Instagram. The links are below. And it's just like, I think he's the best disseminator of information out there. And like, I just love where his mind is and how he sees stuff. He's from InfoWars, and we're very honored to have him on the show. Please welcome Greg Reese. How are you, Greg?
I'm great. How are you doing? Good to be here.
Well, honor and a privilege, man. Like I said before I brought you on, I love your videos. I think you're one of the best disseminators of information out there. Small, quick, digestible information. And, you know, like us, this is a show called Tinfoil Hat. We're a conspiracy show. And, you know, we go kind of deep on stuff, but I like where you go and you back it up with receipts. So for those listeners who may not be familiar with you, where can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at all my videos will be on my channel at band.video. That's where I have not all of them, actually, because there was a while there where I was on my own private YouTube after InfoWars YouTube channel was taken down, and then my YouTube channel was taken down. But there's about 4 years worth of videos on Band. And then on Substack, I do a weekly podcast, and I have some exclusive videos available on my Substack. And then Reese Report right there is where you can find all these different links, along with my Rumble and BitChute and all that stuff.
All right, ReeseReport.com. Again, links are in the description below, so go click those and support Greg. It's great to have you on. I mean, it's a crazy time right now. You are at InfoWars. Owen Schroyer is going through it right now. Just got sentenced to 60 days in prison for what he's saying is his story. This is just chaos, man. That his reporting helped cause January 6th, even though everybody knows this was a giant Fed operation. What are your thoughts on that?
First, I have to say, I think the biggest bummer, failure, whatever you want to call it, I've seen and through all this mess is when everyone ran home on January 6th. It was a peaceful protest. It was one of the most inspiring peaceful protests I've ever been a part of or ever seen. It was families. It was beautiful. It was Americans. And if we would have just stayed there, and I don't mean whenever I say this, everyone thinks I'm talking about violence. People seem to have a limit. It's either nothing or it's all violence. No, we would have just parked out there, just like Occupy Wall Street, except a million of us, and just said F you and no and all that stuff, then I think we could have taken care of things right then and there. But everyone ran home, and it's been a real mess ever since. Having said that, what's happening to Owen is crazy. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And really, when you look through his sentencing document, they're literally just charging him for speech, for questioning the election and saying things like 1776 and the government's full of criminals and tyrants. I mean, these are all obvious truths, but even if they were total lies, we're allowed to say whatever we want to say in this country, or at least we used to be. So,
Well,
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, unfortunately and fortunately, lying is protected by the First Amendment. It's speech. And to have people like what I can't believe is how people are willing to sacrifice their principles when it involves somebody they don't like. So, this guy, I forget how to pronounce his last name, but it's like Andy Nog or whatever his name is. He's out of Portland. He's from the right. And he posted a clip or a story on his Twitter about how France, I believe, or England had froze the accounts of some big oil, climate, protectors, bank accounts. And I go, okay. So we're all afraid of the banks overstepping and social credit score, but we're willing to throw that all away when it involves somebody we don't like. And we're willing to sacrifice our principles because we don't like the climate, let's say the climate people, because they're all rich kids who are looking for purpose in their life, and they've picked something where there is no end line. They can just constantly be virtue signaling to give themselves purpose in their life. But because we don't like them, we're okay with the government doing our biggest nightmare to them. And that's when I think you get in real freaking trouble, is when you're willing to sacrifice what you stand for when it's being done to someone you don't like. And, the ACLU is just like hot garbage right now, but there was a time when it really had its principles. And, you would hear people complaining that they were only protecting the worst of the worst. And the truth is you have to protect, when it comes to the law, have to protect the worst of the worst. Because if you allow them, again, to be sacrificed, it will eventually be used against you. And that, to me, is insane. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they go after InfoWars because there's a lot of people that don't like Alex. There's a lot of people that don't like, anything associated with Alex. I lost the majority of my family and friends basically when I started working there, just because people were disgusted that I worked there, which is just crazy. I get it. There's people. I don't like most people. I can say I love everybody, but at the same time, I could say most people drive me crazy. Most people are annoying to me if I hang out with them too long. So I get it. But you're right. You can't make major decisions that involve the future generations of our country based on what you like and what you don't like. People have been turned into crazy children in that way, and it's insane. As far as the what is it? The ACLU you're talking about? I remember in high school back in, what was that? In the late 80s, I remember going to downtown Cleveland to check out Ku Klux Klan rallies just for kicks, because it was a hoot. And it was no big deal. No one was crying about it. No one was offended. Like I said, it was mainly high school kids dropping out of class just to go check it out like a parade, because it was a bizarre circus. So it all happened in the past 10, 15 years very quickly, or so it seems.
That was before being offended became a sport,
You're
you
totally
could
right.
just kind of pop down and you look at the weirdos, but now it's like, oh my God, pearl clutching,
Well, it's very interesting, and Greg, stick with me. This will go somewhere, but I always get invited to do these edgy comedy shows, right? And this is kind of going back to like how racism now is like the worst thing ever and the possibility of all time, right? Yeah. And so I'm doing all these edgy shows because they love my comedy and they know this show, so they assume I'm the edgy guy, which I enjoy, So in these roast battles, in these super offended comedy shows, they'll say everything except for a racist statement against black people. And this isn't me trying to go, hey man, let's be racist against black.
You're talking about jokes, though.
I'm talking about jokes, but like the notion that the N-word is worse than doing jokes about hurting children sexually is like insane to me.
Yeah.
Like they are all just calling each other pedophiles but saying the worst views of it. But then like this one word, even in the most let's offend everybody show where everybody's super edgelords, they won't go right there.
Think about the politicians who have killed people, bombed people, and then wait, I know he killed people, but what he said? What?
Yeah, or they'll get him on that like he
Yeah.
touched his like secretary's butt, like
Yeah,
these
what
things that are like what. So when you go, hey, I used to go watch the Ku Klux Klan and think it was hilarious. Like today, people are like, oh, how could you do that? And they would cry.
Which only gives them more power. When you react that way, it gives the Klan and people like that who want a reaction more power.
well because
by reacting
the
to it.
shadow in the cave gets bigger, right?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, it's like that video
Yeah.
that you posted about like how black people react to magic.
Yeah.
That's not racist.
Yeah, 100%.
That's fucking funny. If you've ever watched, even Brian Callen was like, bro, they just run away.
Yeah, it's so
And
fun.
David
Yeah.
Blaine based his entire career on black people reacting to magic.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, going back to what we're saying, like there's this thing where like the theory of it is worse than actually what is going on, right? So, I find everything you're saying 100% correct. And, the notion that like January 6th was this awful thing when we had people burning down middle and lower class businesses in lower class neighborhoods. And when I mean lower class, I mean economically, not
A whole
as
police
people.
department. Don't forget that they burned down a whole police department.
Right. So it's insane to me that this is okay. Do you get worried that there is precedents being set in these courts right now that could really do damage, not only just right now, but more down the line, Greg?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really have. I've made my peace with the world going to shit. Like Obama's second term, I actually went to a yoga ashram that I visited a few times, and I went there this time for like 3 straight years. I lived all alone in a temple, and I really immersed myself. And the whole purpose of it was to basically try to figure out how to still be happy in a Orwellian tyrannical world. Because like I said, by Obama's second term, I kind of was like, there's no hope. Everyone's completely asleep. So I succeeded at doing that. And then that's where right when I started my job at InfoWars, I came to InfoWars basically from the ashram, stopping in Hawaii in the interim. But I've made my peace with it. So I'm able to still enjoy every day and still be okay with it. Having said that, I don't see much hope. I think like I said, on January 6th was sort of, and I'm not trying to be a downer, but on January 6th, that was the day I was like, all right, we're done. We don't have it in us anymore. We're at home rooting for Elon Musk to somehow save us all, or rooting for a rigged election for father of Operation Warp Speed to somehow drain the swamp. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I think I'm very upset that Owen got 2 months, but I'm actually surprised he only got 2 months. And I hope he never enters the jail, and I certainly hope he gets out after 2 months. But I'm expecting my door to get kicked in next, and then all of it. I mean, this is not going very well. That said, I have no idea what's going on. For all
Respect
I know,
on that.
yeah, no idea what's going on.
So we just had the passing of 9/11, and it's crazy. I got yelled at. I didn't get yelled at. I had somebody in the comment section of one of my social media express that they were very upset that we didn't do a 9/11 show. But I go, we've done a 9/11 show every year that this show's been going. And it was like, we've talked about it all. And then to be honest with you, like the weather manipulation show was probably the peak 9/11 show in terms of what was going on. And there's just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of like, what is real and what is a psyop to basically, almost as a smoke screen. So you don't see what is the real cause of it. What are your whole thoughts on like Building 7, 9/11 and all that stuff?
I give credit to God for all my best videos that do very well. And this, I did a Building 7 video for 9/11, and that was just my intuition It's just a word I use for the voice of God, I suppose. And it was just my intuition said, because this is the first time I've done a 9/11 video since I've been at InfoWars. So I just felt I should do it. It turned out to be very good because it really felt like a different kind of 9/11 anniversary. Like there was a lot of people really ripe to dig into it that never looked into it before. That's how it felt. And so I was very excited about that. That was good to see. I think it's perfect that you focused on the weather weapons at that time because they really do go hand in hand. And that is sort of the next big thing that's coming out right now is like, I don't even know. I had my suspicions as to what's going on. I have an overall theory as to what I think is going on, but with the weather weapons, the more I look into weather, the more I'm questioning how legitimate the weather is. Like, I don't even know what to trust anymore. The more I look into it, the more I'm thinking it could all be man-made. I mean, it's a pretty interesting subject. As far as Building 7, my thoughts are, I got to just say 9/11 in general. If you haven't gone down the rabbit hole already of 9/11, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's hours and hours, literally, of evidence that should tell any reasonable person that this is an inside job. There's obviously a lot of things muddying the water. There are people out there that are arguing that they know exactly, it was these people only, it was these people only, it was this, it was that, it was everything. That's the thing about 9/11. It kind of covers, it's kind of a perfect course 101 into conspiracy theories, because once you go through all of 9/11, you kind of get a little bit of everything,
I totally agree. And it's like layers upon layers upon layers upon layers that I don't even think the layers knew that there were other layers. I think that's how they do it. I think they have their mission. And then what they don't know is there's a mission on top of that mission to ensure if that mission doesn't get done, this mission will. So
I'm sure they have a committee, several committees that are tasked with trying to milk out every possible objective they could get. Like, okay, here's the objective. We're going to blow up the towers. Your job is to sit down and figure out how we can most efficiently get absolutely everything we want out of it. For example, everyone kept asking me about directed energy weapons because we see evidence of it with the cars in New York on 9/11. My answer to that was it was probably, and I don't know, but my answer would be it was probably just a beta test. They said that was on the list of things they could do. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to beta test those direct energy weapons and see how the people react to it and see what kind of effect they have. But like you said, there's just so many things going on that no one involved knew all the moving parts. Everyone just knew their own compartmentalized job and what to do that day. And
and so we have the initial official story, Islamic terrorist, right? Then as we peel back, the story is that Mossad was protecting the Islamic terrorists by calling them and telling them every time the FBI was getting close to them. So then we have that layer. Then we have the layer of they were running, air games in our aerospace with our Air Force, not just one, not multiple different air games where they're basically simulating different situations all on the same day. So we have that going. Then we have on top of that the Israeli art students. And what were they doing for 4 years inside there? What was that going on? Then we have the basically what I believe is the modern version of Operation Northwood, the most modern version. I mean, we could get into the space shuttle. I think that is, if you read the actual what they wanted to do with Operation Northwood, point by point, and then look at the Challenger explosion, and it is point by point by point. Call me crazy guy, but it is point by point by point, right? I mean, you remember when the teacher's going around doing all these interviews? Oh, I'm going into space. I'm going into space. I'm going into space. That's exactly what they were going to do with the college musicians. They were going to do a big media blitz about these kids are going to Cuba, and then bang, put them in the space, put them in the air, explosion, traumatize the country. Just saying. So then we got that. So how does these two people who lived in the desert pull out the greatest feat? Was it Operation Northwood with drones? Sounds like that to me. And Then you got the direct energy weapons. That's on top of that. So then there's the Mossad and the drones and they don't even know about the direct energy weapons. And then on top of that, you have them talking about the hurricane that just sat just outside of New York on September 10th, and the story that we had with Jim Lee and Topher Gardner. So it's like layers upon layers upon layers because it had to get done. This day had to be done. And then all the occult symbolism of that day is like insanity. So this is the perfect way to have everybody fighting.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy.
It was definitely a massive ritual, that's for sure. And then there's the brother Bush, or was it the cousin that had the security contract to go into the towers and rechange the security system, and they actually turned off the cameras for the first time in the history of the World Trade Center for a few days, and then there were stories of when they were done with that and they reopened, that people were smelling things in the vents, and they took out the bomb sniffing dogs and the remote control airplanes that date back all the way into the 40s that you can find. And then the most interesting thing, I think, is the videos that show no planes. And I kind of leave that alone because...
yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm in.
Yeah. I got a friend who was there who lost his fiance in the tower, and he was actually on his way in the tower when the second plane hit. And he says he looked up and watched it happen, and was he's still got a metal, his spine's put together with metal from that incident. He got blown back. A bomb went off inside while he was going in. Right when the plane hit, a bomb went off. And this is according to him. He doesn't like the no planes thing because he swears that he looked up and saw a plane. But it could be both. It could be. That's the thing. I have seen a video that does show a plane's wing going behind a building. But who knows? I have enough technology with Photoshop. I could have done that and put that video out there. So yeah, I'm not saying it didn't happen. There's just, like you said, there's so many different layers. It's the ultimate conspiracy theory.
Right.
We've seen the video of like when a plane hits a bird, the damage the bird does to the plane or a pole. And so it just makes no sense. It's obviously I keep going on with Sam. I think it was drones. I think it was the first sign of drones, and they just said it was a plane. We couldn't see it.
I mean, the whole theory is that could have been holograms, which is Operation Bluebeam, which is super interesting.
Do you think we had that tech 20, 22 years ago?
Oh yeah. I mean, if we had the tech, we easily had it 20 years ago. But
we had it back then to put it on camera afterwards, like because they were doing like the dragon in the stadium. Yeah. Well, back in 2007, I remember seeing a dragon in some stadium somewhere in like Taiwan or something on camera that looked real. That was crazy,
but not something that people could see.
No, I agree. That's why I have a problem with it. Yeah, I don't think we had that technology back then. Well, I don't even know if we have that now.
Well, yeah, the whole question is, and we're starting to see it now. Like we're starting to see it all over the place where they're doing all these crazy ass like giant in real time, Johnny. So
I see it now. I just don't think we had it.
Yeah, but my whole theory is if you see it now, they've had it for 20 years.
Yeah, I can accept that.
And they're rolling it out slowly. That's just kind of what they're doing. Now I'm not necessarily into the hologram stuff. Because I go, why they don't need to do that.
Yeah, it's not. And even if is it relevant? Is that even is that, you know?
Right.
I agree. I can easily see it being thrown in a way just to muddy the waters, to confuse it. Because they did definitely, like I think it was in the early 40s. I can't remember the name of the operation, but it's pretty well documented. Where they had full-size planes that they could remote control. They were actually using them in World War II. You just needed to be a certain distance away from it, and you can literally steer the plane into targets and stuff.
Yeah.
So that technology was perfected by 9/11 for sure.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our friends at DraftKings. Listen, football is back in full swing with another week of epic games. And who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? That's right, DraftKings, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers get $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. So here's what I want you to do. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use the code TINFOIL to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code TINFOIL. The crown is yours.
Gambling
All right.
problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY, HOPE NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
I remember them saying it took like 3 months to put all the fires out. And I looked it up. It says 3 months. That sounds like some ritual stuff. Like how long? Why would it take 3 months to put out some fires?
Well,
like
the real question is this, and this is the question that you got to ask everybody. You go, where is the rubble? Like you're talking to the biggest buildings on planet Earth. They just came down. It should be blocks.
Wait, what's your suggestion there?
Well, that's where we start getting into direct energy weapons.
Yeah.
Or
So things would vaporize is what you're saying.
Dissonance frequency, which is what Jim Lee again and Topher Gardner were talking about, is like you can make if the right frequency, you could dissonance frequency, you can make it disappear. And so I've always been like, where is it goes down. All we ever see is all this metal cut weird, right? And just this kind of like first or second floor of the World Trade Center. And that's it.
It's similar to the fires in California and now Maui and Australia, where the houses are just turned into like a white powdery footprint. It's almost similar to that. And that's the one thing about 9/11 where I will say it looks like directed energy weapons were involved, because you're right. By the time everything hit the ground, it was like powdered ash. And how is that? I mean, there was obviously some solid debris that they shipped off to China so that no one could investigate and stuff like that. But yeah, it just was pulverized.
And you're like, and I can't believe nobody asked that question. And it goes back to what Greg Carlwood said, deviation from the norm. And that is really what this show has always been about. Like, this is a deviation from the norm. This does not make any sense to me outside of controlled demolition. But even a controlled demolition, they have it so it's like they can control where all the debris goes. You're talking to the biggest buildings on planet Earth at the time. And it should be a block full of cement and concrete and all that shit.
Yeah, it should be more like Building 7 was, because that's what Building 7 was. A lot of people say they put too much explosives in Building 7, but it could have just simply been that Building 7 was wired with the same amount of explosives. It just didn't include the X factor that we're talking about. You know,
so
it was.
My question to you is: do you know about Building 6?
No, people were tweeting that to me. I never heard anything about it, and people were putting it in my messages, and I thought people were pulling my leg or something. I was like, what are you talking about, Building 6? And a few other people chimed in. What's Building 6?
Dude, this is my favorite moment in conspiracies, where you talk to a well-versed conspiracy theorist, and then you go, do you know about Building 6? And they're like, no. I'm like, this is the third time it's happened to me. First one was Greg Carlwood. Second one was Tim Dillon. And the third one is you. And basically, Building 6 is like Building 7. Just put Building 6, 9/11. There, it should be there.
6 World Trade Center.
World Trade Center. Yeah, Building 6, World Trade Center. So if you look from the top, it's supposed to be like Building 7, where it was supposed to be done. But unfortunately, something went wrong, and they basically hollowed out the whole middle of it.
I have seen that. My friend Ricky DeSantis, actually, distant cousin of Ron DeSantis. He's my neighbor here. That's the guy who survived 9/11. He's got a photograph that he took of what you're talking about, where there's 2 massive holes in the roof. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it doesn't even just go down. It's not even just a massive hole in the roof. It goes down like 3 or 4 floors into the ground.
Like a core sample, it looks like almost. Yes. Okay, I have seen that. I didn't know that was. I didn't know he called it something else, and I didn't think much of it until just now that you told that to me. All right, that is interesting.
Do you know who was in that building?
No.
The best images are on the Wikipedia.
Go to Wikipedia. In that building was a office of the El Dorado Task Force, which was a task force put together by the U.S. government. All of the basically, like, I'd say 50 or 60 departments of the U.S. government pooled their resources together to, there it is. That's it. Pulled their resources together. Go back one. Pulled their resources together to look for money laundering around the world for funding terrorism. And they were in, that was their building in their office. And they just hollowed that out.
Yeah.
And like, how do you explain planes with that?
What is they say that like a wing of the plane landed on it?
It was the other tower they claim.
Nobody. This is why I think Building 7 is the psyop that gets us all to fight with each other. The nonlinear warfare, and then
it kind of works. That's not a bad. That's actually a pretty good point, because when I heard, like I said, when people mentioned Building 6 to me in comments of me posting Building 7, that was kind of my first thought. Was like, it might, whatever. My mind just said, this is a joke. It's a Building 7 joke. Oh, have you heard of Building 6?
Yeah.
Right. So look at it. Look at it. That's inside it, and look at all the floors are right there still. I mean, that's crazy to me. I've never seen that picture.
Oh, that's the piece that became the WTC cross. The cross that they took out.
But it's like, that's why everyone discusses Building 7, and that's why I had like 90 cameras on it. But then nobody, even the most well-versed conspiracy theorists, not all of them know about Building 6.
So do we think people were inside the towers, as many as they say, or do we go back to the theory where they were kind of empty?
I don't think they care.
I think there were people in there.
Yeah, I don't think they care about lives at all.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
either.
I think someone asked me that on that they pointed out that theory, and that theory to me is the equivalent of saying that JFK Jr. is alive and Princess Diana's alive. Everybody's alive. Nobody dies. Nobody ever gets hurt. That's the new conspiracy theory in the Q world.
Yeah.
Is nobody ever dies. They're all hiding away somewhere, and they're all going to come out and say, surprise. So yeah, people die, and they love murder for sure.
Yeah, they do. It's how they sacrifice the Moloch or whatever fallen angel they're worshiping at this time. Go up one thing. There's a couple things I want to talk about. The lockdowns are coming back. So I do a big show at the world famous Comedy Store, and it's called Comedy Chaos. We had our 79 sold out show, and I opened up, talk about living in LA and how much it sucks. And one of the things I was talking about is like, I get on a plane with all the idiots. And if I want to find out how dumb my plane is, I times the amount of people wearing masks by the amount of dogs on the plane. And if that's double digits, then I know I'm not on a plane, but I'm riding a short bus, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good equation. So dogs times masks.
Yeah, there we go. And I do a joke, and I go, and this is opening show, and they were a hot crowd too. And I go, yeah, they're going to try to bring back the mask. We're not going to allow that, right? And the room was quiet. And I'm like, we're not going to allow that, right? And people are just staring at me, except for my conspiracy friends who are laughing in the corner. But they got real quiet. So, I had this great comic. I'm not going to say their names.
At least they're honest.
At least, I mean, like, honest with stupidity, like dangerously honest. And which goes, I mean, they were basically going, well, if they tell us to. I'm like, what? So I had this comic on, and we were talking backstage, and this person is amazing. I love this person. But they were like, masks work. I go, it's 2023. You know that's not true. And they're like, masks work. It stops the particles. I go, and I have to make this decision. Like, do I want to engage in a fight with somebody I love, or do I just want to surrender and just move on because it doesn't matter what I say? It just doesn't. And they were like, well, I do is I walk on with the mask, and then when I'm on the plane, I take the mask off. I go, okay, I don't understand that scientific logic there, but do you think they're going to try to do lockdowns again?
I think that whatever they do, they'll succeed at. That's what I think. I think that's where we're at. I've heard a lot of people that are like, yeah, good luck with that. Try locking us down again. But I've seen enough in the past few years to where I'm pretty convinced that we're gonna get whatever they give us. We're at their mercy completely, because the majority of the people will go along with whatever they're told, and the majority of the people are used as sort of the frontline soldiers against the rest of us. And we're talking like women and children. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's a very clever operation, a very evil operation they have. Are they going to lock us down again? I don't know. It sure looks like it. What else are they going to do? It really comes down to what their agenda is. And I honestly don't know what their agenda is. What's really interesting is there's a lot of people out in the alternative media and the conspiracy theory crowd that all of a sudden seem like they know what's going on. And they're all acting like, oh, these people are idiots. And I'm like, they're not idiots. They know us better than we know ourselves. They play a serious long game, like multi-generational long game.
Yes.
They've been doing this for centuries. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not stupid. And I don't think anyone knows what's going on. I'll tell you this, Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates are the most obvious patsies I've ever seen in my life. They're both fancy boys, right? They're both soft little fancy boys. And they obviously have people telling them what to do. They're obviously not evil masterminds. They're just pushed out in front, soft-headed little fancy boy patsies that'll probably take a hit. I'm guessing those guys are going to go to jail. I'm guessing that will happen for a bigger thing that's happening behind the scenes. Like, I don't think that it's not just the World Economic Forum trying to kill us. That's part of it, but this is multi-dimensional. At this point, I don't think anyone's talking about what's really going on. So are they going to lock us down? If they want to, So I guess we're going to find out.
I find that whole statement so interesting, and I totally agree with you. I get in arguments with my good friend all the time, Brian Callen, about this. And it's like, we're in a conspiracy community. They want to blame these people, those people, that religion, this religion. And, and my whole thing is like, the deeper I go into this, the more and more I go past these middle management people. Like on surface level, I'm just going to say this, Sam speaking, not Greg. Oh, it's the Jews. And then it's a billion. And it's like, I'm just like, dude, that is so low hanging fruit that they want you to take and get stuck on that level.
Especially the Jews.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to get so much shit for that, but I don't care because it's
obvious bait.
It's so obvious.
And all it's doing is it's showing that you're not only that you're low IQ, but that you hate the Jews.
Yeah.
And it's also probably showing that you think that your religion is the right religion and the rest of them are bad, So it's just, it's pretty obvious to me, but I get it all the time.
Yeah. It's just like, it's like a lot of these people that want to blame all the Jews and all that stuff, they're also the same people that complain about how the media and Hollywood calls all white people racist. Like, you're complaining about the same thing that you're doing. Do you understand? Yeah. Like, are there Jews in position of power? Of course. Are there white people in position of power? Of course. But does that mean anybody in this room besides Xavier, who's Mexican, but all the white people in this room, like, do we have any kind of power? Like, I've spent time in jail for drugs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have been a victim of the policies. That's all I'm saying. So, so when you look at these people, like either Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, Jeffrey Epstein, when you watch them, you see the symbolism of sorcery. At the highest level,
that's what
it's
it is.
Sorcery. It's fallen angel worship.
Yeah. I agree completely. That's exactly what it is. This is, I would say, if you were to ask me what's going on, I would say the ones, like you said, the ones we're seeing are management. That's all they are. They're management. They're disposable. They're patsies.
Like El Chapo. Whatever. Oh, El Chapo, man, we got the head of the Mexican cartel. Nope. That's the one they want you to see.
Exactly. They're smart enough to stay hidden in the shadows. I would guess they're in Antarctica or underground in the underworld or whatever, and I would guess that they're serving the non-humans. Whether you want to call them fallen angels or aliens or whatever. I like the term non-humans, but I would say they're like the Judas goats serving the non-humans. Like, people blame the Rothschilds. Sure. On the human level, you really can track a lot of this down to the Bank of England and the Rothschilds and the Crown and the Vatican and all that stuff. But those are still management. Those are still the dummies that were pushed out in front to take all the heat, you know?
No, I agree. 100%.
What I learned, I knew that I was stupid from a young age. From a young age, I figured out that if I don't watch myself really carefully, I'm going to fall into a hole. I'm going to bump into something. I'm going to lose all my stuff. So I'm very careful. And I always assumed I was below average intelligence. The most horrifying thing I think I've ever seen in my life was in COVID. I realized that I'm actually above average intelligence. And that's kind of scary to me because like I said, I know how dumb I am. So what I've learned is that we're not that much different from like chickens or, cows. We're just a little bit smarter than them. And whatever is managing us, they can see a lot more than we can, and they know our next move.
I totally agree with you. So I just did Fight Companion with Joe Rogan, and they clipped this thing that I was talking about because, we've had Mel K on here. She was talking about the next thing are the illegal immigrant riots, and you just watch you just read the comments, and you just realize that some people can't comprehend it. They're just, it's beyond their understanding because they're calling me a crazy person about, there's going to be immigration riots all in these giant Democratic cities because they don't want these people voting. They need these cities to run game on these elections. So they're going to bombard them with violence so people stay home, do the mail-in ballots, and now they can rig the next election. It's all a demoralization campaign. Well, you're calling me crazy and stupid.
Do you think in 8 months it's going to be?
Oh, I think when we're in the 2024, they're already ramping it up.
They're setting it up just.
Yeah,
they just gave them millions of dollars. They just gave all the rioters from the last round millions of dollars in court. So they've already funded, the next one.
Yeah,
they're not paying them for what they did. They're paying them for what they want them to do.
100%. And it's all about San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York City, Los Angeles, these huge Democratic cities that they don't want people actually going out to vote. Because if they lose those cities, it's impossible for them to even attempt to rig it. So they have to have people stay home. But if you're calling me a crazy person for saying that, look at what's going on in Europe right now. It's fully happening right now.
So you think the cities are turning like in America, like more right?
Whether they are willing to vote for Trump, which I'm not saying they will or will
see
not
that at all.
But I don't think they trust Joe Biden.
I think if it happens, it's more aimed at scaring the rest of the country.
No, I personally think it's all about just destabilizing these giant cities that are hotbeds for Democrats.
But for voting, I just don't think they're at any risk of losing these cities. Like LA, I mean, I haven't seen any change at all. Have you? And the people you talk to day to day?
I do. I think secretly behind closed doors, I get more and more people tell me that, something's up. I mean, like, Chris DeFaustino was just on on Bradley Martin's podcast, and I don't know how deep in conspiracies Chris DeStefano. Sorry, dude. Chris DeStefano. I'm sorry, fucked his name up. I love him. He's such a great comic, and he's such a hard worker, and I fucked his name up. I feel really bad. But he was talking about how he talked to the CIA agent, and he asked him, "Hey, why does Trump have all this Secret Service shit?" And like the guy wouldn't go into it. So it's interesting shit. Not saying that what he's saying is right, but what I am saying is that he's now getting into. You see more and more people getting into conspiracies. More and more mainstream podcasts getting into conspiracy. The whole point about what I'm saying right now is that there's just a group of people that aren't mentally capable of thinking for themselves. They must be told what to think.
Right.
And that's where we are. What's your thoughts on that, Greg?
I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were saying something about what did they say? They said some people don't have an inner monologue. Some people don't have an inner voice. Yeah. And I thought that was very interesting because I've never thought of that before. I'm a meditator. And when I first started meditating, I thought it was going to be impossible to turn off my inner monologue. And for a while it was. And after years of practice, I'm able to do it now. But I just assumed that was a natural part of everyone. And once that person just said that simple statement, right away I started thinking of like people I know that I grew up with that I'm like, that explains everything. That explains a lot of this. That some people, if you don't have an inner monologue and you don't think about things, what does that mean? That means you're just accepting whatever you're told. And that explains a lot of things, because I have people in my family I grew up with that are technically smart. You know, they have master's degrees and they're engineers. And
we call them intelligent. They're intelligence versus smarts. Intelligence is understanding systems. Smarts is wisdom through experience.
Okay. I like that. And these people, everyone knows them. These people think that by following what the TV tells you and by repeating what the TV tells you is proof that you are an intelligent person.
Yes.
It's crazy.
And according to what I've seen, that's no small number of people. Like that's as much as 70% of people who don't have an inner monologue.
Most of the people I've met in my life, it's growing up, and I'm a very social person. I've been all over the world. I hate people, like I said, but I'm interested in people and I like to talk to people. And yeah, I would say easily, now that I think about it, I would say 10% at most are the people that I've met that you can have conversations with, like what we're having. Less than that. I'm being very generous with that. It's more like between 1% and 5% from my experience, really.
That's definitely
everyone else looks at you like you're crazy.
That's definitely the education system, right? That has people they're meant to
I
think
think
like
that we're
that.
talking about something that's inborn, I think.
Yeah,
I think this is inborn. I don't think this is the education system. No, I think this is. And then someone else, I was listening to another. I get out there. I like all kinds of subjects that I don't cover in my reports, but I was listening to a more sort of spiritual based podcast where they were talking about people that are born without a soul, that there are people that are actually born like NPCs and they're sort of like extras for the rest of us in our own move. For those of us that do have a soul and are experiencing something, and this sounds a little arrogant, so I'm just saying what I heard.
Yeah, but I mean,
when I heard that, I started, after what I've seen in the past few years with COVID, it makes me think maybe there are people here that are just like robots. Yeah. And then there's the discussion that there is, non-humans that actually have sort of robot, automatons that we wouldn't notice that. For all we know, that we can't tell our robots that are robots. I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it.
I love it. Hey guys, I love to sleep, and that's why I want to tell you about my boys and girls at Helix Sleep. Let me tell you about Helix. That's right. HelixSleep.com. Listen, I love sleep. You love sleep. We all need to sleep. We spend most of our time sleeping. And your mattress is the most important part of your sleep. Without a mattress, what are you going to do? And that's why I want to tell you about the people at Helix Sleep. Listen, they have one of the best out there. I mean, dude, I love Helix Sleep, dude. My favorite Helix mattress, let me tell you about it. Bang! It's a Helix Midnight Luxe. That thing is like warm butter sleeping in. It's the best. Dude, I don't know what I would do without my Helix mattress. Do you guys have a Helix mattress?
Absolutely, I do. Yes, I love it.
Dude,
Sleep on it every night.
I'm taking the quiz right now.
He's taking the quiz right now. Look he's lying about how tall he was. Like he's like Helix is test is like a chick.
That's the lie. That's the lie. Not the person I'm sleeping with.
There we go. So Kim Kardashian's high. Nice, dude. Nice. So you go there. It's a real quick quiz. It's fast. It's easy. It's fun. And it will help you figure out which one of Helix's 20 unique mattresses, including their award-winning Luxe collection, the newly released Helix Elite collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress for just kids. Whatever mattress, it's going to figure out which one's the best one for you and personalize it. That's right, dude. Get your personalized mattress and it's shipped straight to your door, free of charge. Helix knows there's no better way to test out a mattress than by sleeping on it in your own home. In your home with your own mattress. And that's why they're going to give you a 100-night trial. That's right. And a 10 to 15-year warranty, man. Come on. What lasts?
A trial? Wow.
A trial.
On a mattress.
A trial. That's right. For a mattress. Everyone's unique and everyone sleeps differently. That's why Helix has several different models to choose from. Each one is designed specifically for specific sleep positions and feel preference. Wow. It's that great. So here's what we want you to do. It's really that simple. Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. So go to helixsleep.com sleep.com/tinfoil to get 20% off all mattresses and 2 free pillows for just Tinfoil Hat listeners. That's helixsleep.com/tinfoil to get this amazing offer. Enjoy your sleep. So we kind of brought up Bill Gates. I see you got a video about Klaus Schwab and the bloodlines of the Illuminati. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That was a fairly recent one, and I can't remember exactly the subject. I remember I went into the bloodlines of the Illuminati, and I went into, I think I got into the orphan trains on that one and the breeding programs, if I remember correctly. I don't know.
Oh my God!
I make so many videos. I don't remember exactly.
Dude,
what
I get
about.
it.
So you guys brought up the Illuminati.
Hold on, real quick before you do pin that question. What are the breeding? What are we all know the orphan trains. There is some talk about Tartaria and the notions of bringing these orphans western or to the west. A big part of cultural Marxism is detaching children from their parents. And, whether it's happening on a mass level like Libs of TikTok wants you to believe, and I believe Libs of TikTok is part of the nonlinear warfare where, like, she's highlighting TikToks that maybe we would never see to create this illusion.
Yeah, highlighting crazy people that really don't matter, because the only people that are holding a phone up like this and blah, those are crazy people.
Yeah.
And it's almost kind of dirty to spend your time looking at the private moments of crazy people. Dirty is not a good word. It's
creepy, but
it's creepy.
But what now you have the ADLs going after Libs of TikTok, and I'm telling you, watch this. This is a game plan of the elites to certify in the public's mind and the most paranoid people. You certify them as being a real thing by making it seem like they're being censored. Right. So you have Libs of TikTok who lost her account. Oh my God, they're trying to silence her. You're like, and you study her connections. She has deep connections. Adam Green brought this up. Deep connections to the legacy media. So now you have this whole thing about now the ADL and the woman who runs it's Jewish. They're Jewish, but they're like going after Libs of TikTok. But what that does is now validates Libs of TikTok. It makes it seem like they're a big deal. But when you bring up these orphan trains, which was this theory, and we saw Canada and most likely the United States took these indigenous children, brought them to the other parts of the country so they could never.
Oh, it was more than that.
Let's hear. I'd love to hear it.
I mean, this is a new subject. I did a video for this on my Substack. It's for the subscribers only, but it's this. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
This subject changed everything for me. Once I started, and this was like last year, end of last year, beginning of this year, I started looking into the orphan trains. No, it happened all over the Western world. In America alone, between the 1850s and the early 1900s, at least 300,000 orphans were sold and traded across the country, put on trains, literally taken off a train, sold at fairs and markets. They were shipped in the mail to people, advertised with postcards, advertised in the newspapers. They were birthing them in the Oddfellow homes. The Oddfellows is a secret society, a Masonic society, one of the most secret. And their charge is to look after orphans. They're aligned with the Sisters of Rebecca. And the Sisters of Rebecca appear to be surrogate mothers, and they have these orphan asylums. You could look all this stuff up online. You'll find all this stuff. They had orphan asylums where they were breeding babies and selling them off and sending them all over the country. It looks like they were actually putting them in positions of power. The orphans would grow up in these Oddfellow Masonic lodges. A lot of the members of the Oddfellows are orphans themselves. And the Freemason character Hiram Abiff, who's like one of the characters that they have rituals about, was known as the orphan son. So it's all about the orphans for them. It's all about making their own people, which is the way I look at it. Because if you think about it, if you want an army, if you want to control people,
Bro.
just make your own people.
They're international.
That's the
Yeah.
easiest way to do it. And it makes you realize how little we know about our history. Like, I don't really trust our history anymore, because when you factor in all that stuff I just told you, and you really have to look into it for yourself, but once you look into it and you factor that in, you have to admit that you can't trust our history at all. Because I always assumed that for the most part, it was just natural organic families that would raise babies. No, that's almost seems like that's just something that happens over time. But when things start off, it's these secret societies breeding their own people and spreading them all over the planet.
Hold on.
It's crazy.
What is the name of these guys? The Oddfellows?
Independent Order of Oddfellows.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so we brought this up before on this show, but you know what this sounds exactly like? Is like this when I told you the stories of the Smash Brothers, Corey and Chad in Ontario, and how there's this giant Scientology bunker where like nobody can go in. The city doesn't mess around with them. They don't talk to them. They don't do any of that stuff, right? And they see people trying to escape, and they made jokes about breeding Scientologists. That totally makes sense to me. Damn.
Yeah. David Icke interviewed a Rothschild. I can't remember the first name, but he's a member of the Rothschild family in Children of the Matrix. He interviewed him for that. And he claimed that the Rothschilds have bred over 100,000 people.
They're
through these
worldwide.
breeding
They're
programs.
worldwide. They have lodges in
Makes
Italy,
sense.
Mexico, Iceland.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm saying it's like worldwide. Like it's Nigeria, they got lodges everywhere. This is crazy how we've never, wow.
What were you saying about the Rothschild? They bred 100,000?
According to this guy, they said the Rothschild family alone, they've bred over 100,000 Rothschilds from their bloodline to use as their, slave race, which, like I said, I mean, that really makes sense. If that's your business, if your business is power and control, then why would you waste your time trying to capture someone else's children? That's dangerous and kind of puts you in the spotlight. Why do that when you can just make your own? And like I said, when you look into it, that's what they did in the 1800s, and they did it out in the open. There's like famous singers, like famous people that everyone knew it was like advertisements, like writing in the papers, a famous person. I bought a baby at the World's Fair, and it was best thing I ever did.
Oh my God. And I'm sorry that I cut you off right there, but I just wanted to hear what you were saying. So dude, what does this sound like when everybody, and this is where people start calling you super crazy.
Yeah.
But when you start going, Merkel and her connections to Hitler. And then when you look at like how there's three leaders of huge countries in Europe, and they're all friends as teenagers.
Yeah. Well, it's all in the family. That makes sense. I mean, that makes absolute sense. Barbara Bush and Aleister Crowley.
Yes, dude.
People laugh at that, but how does that not make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Makes sense. I don't know if you've ever seen, this is a recent thing for me. I've always known that Barbara Bush was a handsome looking woman, but I just saw a video on YouTube of her from 1980. And if you could look it up right now, you go to YouTube, look at Barbara Bush 1980, it'll come right up. Tell me that's not a man. That was before they gave him enough drugs or makeup or surgery to look more like a woman. But the video, there you go. There's a still from it. The second one over, but the video is even more telling. Jamie Deluxe took that video. There you go. Tell me that's not a man. That's all man. Jamie Deluxe took this video and slowed it down to 5/4 speed, and it's obviously that's an altercation of the audio, but still, when you watch his video, it's like it's undeniable.
That's a
and then
strong
when you know
chin.
now about the tranny thing, that's all. That's what they do. If you were to tell me Barbara Bush was a man 5 years ago, I'd laugh and think I would think it's funny, but I don't think I would believe it. But now, I think that's a thing they've been doing for a very long time. Part of the ritual.
It is part of the ritual and the worshiping of the fallen. That's 100% all a part of this. Ancient Babylonian magic. This is all part of it.
So that was a part that I was going to bring up. Did you see that in at Burning Man that they burned a 26-foot sculpture from Ukraine?
I wouldn't doubt it, dude.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, no one knew about it. They didn't talk about it, but they burned it. It was a phoenix, and it burned down, and they had it burning throughout the whole time.
That's very interesting.
And I was just like, whoa, and no one mentions it. Everyone's there having a great time. Like, look.
The Phoenix is what's happening right now.
Great time this year.
Okay, what is the Phoenix?
This is the story to me that explains everything that's happening right now. This is my theory. And like I said, I don't know what's going on, but this is my theory. Ever since my conspiracy theory days, which kind of started in 2000, shortly after 9/11, so about over 20 years now, I've been going down rabbit holes. Every rabbit hole for me has ended in cyclic cataclysm. They used to call it pole shift 20 years ago. That's what everyone called it, was pole shift. The research today points more towards a recurrent solar nova.
Oh yeah, this
Meaning
is
the sun novas, but it doesn't die. It just sort of belches out a bunch of matter, and then it'll keep going. And it does apparently happen, if you believe it, with other stars. But a lot of the experts are putting it around 2040, 2046. Several different researchers are putting it there from different research, all different angles, including one of the most interesting things is the Mayan calendar did not end in 2012. Everyone got that wrong because nobody factored in the fact that there used to be 360 days in a year, not 365.24. And no one seemed to figure that in except for Jason Brashears from Archaics. It took me a few hours to back check it and do all the math and dig into the history, but he's 100% right. There was a time when every nation on the planet had 360 days in their calendar. The Mayan calendar is a calendar based on days. And so when you add that in, the Mayan calendar ends in 2046. When you factor in the fact that the United Nations Agenda 2030, that's perfect timing for what I'm saying. What I'm saying is whether it's going to happen or not, they believe this cataclysm is coming, and they believe that everything on the surface is going to be roasted, including all the toys and the civilizations that they built. So they've already got their underground bunkers all set up. They've been doing that for decades. I'm sure they've got everything taken care of down there. What they need now is to lock down the surface so that they can, because it's probably just a window. They probably don't know exactly when the Phoenix is going to happen. So they want time to be able to lock down the surface and be able to move back and forth to the bases and get down there when they have to. And probably they probably used the vaccine to kill off the weak and the elderly so that they can put the rest of us to work to do whatever last ditch things they have to do before they go underground. The last thing I'll say on the subject is something I just learned very recently, which is kind of interesting, is when you pull up an astrology chart, a birth chart for the year 2040, you'll find that in 2040, the Phoenix constellation, which I didn't know there was one until now, there's a Phoenix constellation that rises up right between Pisces and Aquarius. And Pisces and Aquarius is the markation of the new year at the Great Year, which lasts about 25,000 years, which is where a lot of people, including like Randall Carlson, has always hinted at. The Great Year is where this cyclical cataclysm is. Right at the end of the old age, right at the beginning of the new age. Pisces and Aquarius, and the Phoenix comes right up there, right in 2040. So that explains everything to me. That explains why crazy people like Alexandra Cortez or whatever says the world's going to end in 20 years, because she was probably told that sincerely. All these people were probably told that. That explains why people are willing to kill people. I don't think you could just convince people that there's too many people and we got to kill people. But if you convinced people that this major event's going to happen and it's going to kill out the human race or everyone on the surface, and in order to save the human race, we have to do this, that I could see would work and convince people. And if you wanted to buy people off, what better, like all they had to do with Trump and his family is be like, look, we got bunker space for you and your family. You guys can survive it and live on, It explains everything.
That's dark. I mean, that is damn dark.
I'm right now Googling bunkers.
Are your thoughts that if that is the case, that there's any hope for those of us that are doomed to the surface? What's the
Well,
what can
like I
we
said,
do?
I've been researching this. I've been researching this for years. I did make a video on it. I think it's called Cyclical Cataclysm. The thumbnail is the Aztec calendar, the Mayan calendar. It's about a year old. I want to make more videos on it. I talk about it all the time in my podcast because, like I said, I'm pretty convinced that this is what's going on. As far as hope, if you look into it, these underground bases are all connected to underground cave systems that seem to go back for thousands of years. So this seems to be a thing that's been going on forever. Jason Brashears, who I mentioned, archaics.com, he's been covering the Phoenix, and he's done probably the most comprehensive work of anyone of going back into ancient books and studying this. And what he's shown is that prior to 100 years ago, this is something that everyone was talking about. This was common discussion in the scientific community. In fact, there are several books that are on the subject of trying to figure out exactly when it happens. This seems to be the big secret of all the secret societies. I think if you have a cave, you're in a better position than if you have a man-made bunker.
Why do you say
that's
that?
kind of my dream would be to find a cave. But also I'm getting old. I don't mind. I'll be in my 70s. I wouldn't mind sitting on a porch and watching it happen. Like I said, I've made my
I'm just
peace.
thinking that. I just want to give some for my daughters to hide. And then I'll just sit there Nicolas Cage style and just watch that thing just. Did we lose him?
I don't know what happened.
Hey,
Greg, are you
Hey,
there?
man,
Sorry
welcome
about that.
back.
We've had some issues
Welcome
here.
back.
yeah, hey, there was a storm the storm cleared, but for a while I thought I was going to get cut off because of the storm, but it should be good now. I don't know what happened. What was the last thing I was saying? We were talking about, last I heard was you're talking about your kids.
Yeah, well, it's like I'm going to be like you, just chilling on the porch, letting it come.
Yeah.
Just take me out, enjoy it. But I want to see if I can find somewhere for my kids if they want to hide, because they're only going to be like they're only going to be like 20 years old. Oh shit,
Yeah.
2040? That's a lot closer than I thought.
Yeah, it's not that long.
2040, it's somewhere, well, like I said, the research I've been doing, most people are pinning it between 2040, 2046, which actually makes perfect sense. If there's a window like that, it does make sense that 2030 is their deadline to sort of lock down the surface. That's kind of what I think is happening. I do think Bill Gates and Schwab are going to go down. I do think the left are going to go down, but it's all theater. Like, for example, who's funding these communists? Do this on their own. They're being funded by something else. So I think what's coming next is going to be some type of right-wing fascism that everyone's going to want, because they're going to be like, well, we need it because look at all these crazy people, And then what that allows them to do is have checkpoints, and then they can just control the surface, like I said. Because if it was me, if I was the ones trying to do this, that's what you would need to do. You would need to start controlling the surface in a way where there's no more freedom of travel. You'd want to shut down the airlines and all that stuff so only you could go back and forth and everyone else stuck at homes. It really explains everything.
I mean, 15-minute cities.
As far as your
15-minute cities.
As far 15-minute cities, exactly right. As far as your question, how to survive it, caves. That's the answer, I think. And they're not that uncommon. Actually, for my entertainment, I've been watching there's all kinds of videos of people finding caves that aren't part of a park. They're just on someone's private property. They're everywhere. Actually, they seem to be everywhere. If you do a little research, you can find them. I don't. That's kind of. But like I said, I don't have kids, and I'm okay with not going without it. But if it was me, that's what I would do. I would not want to go in one of these bunkers. To me, that seems like a living hell to be underground with these creeps. And I wouldn't trust them anyways, because I believe in God. The way I see this reset, and it's the Great Reset. Interesting when you think about it like that. This is sort of God's Great Reset. That's kind of what I think it is. I think this is sort of the natural order of wiping the board, of getting rid of all this crazy power and control, to wipe it clean again so that humanity can be born again, like in the Garden of Eden, and start fresh again and replenish the earth. And that's what the occultists and the Judas goats of the fallen angels are trying to do. Is they're trying to defy the Great Reset, everything underground, so that when this thing is over, they can come back up and establish their power again.
I am so with you, man. Okay, this is crazy, dude. It's crazy. So I'm Googling, can I buy a cave? Where can I buy a cave? If any real estate people listening to
Yeah,
this
that's smart.
know where I can buy a cave?
A lot of good ones in the mountains of North Carolina where they used to hide these old stills and stuff.
Let's
where
look.
they-
Start looking them up, bro.
They don't want us to live. I just want on
Mountains are
Amazon.
a good place to look.
Where?
Yeah,
mountains.
Mountains.
Yeah, Johnny, start looking that up. We're going to get a tinfoil hat. Bunker cave.
I went on Amazon looking for bunkers. There's none for sale.
No,
they
but
don't
I'm
want us.
showing
They
you
don't
guys.
want us
yeah,
to
if you
live.
guys
They don't
find it,
want us
count
to
me
live.
in.
They don't want us to live, man. You've often you were talking about aliens and all this stuff. What are your thoughts about all this disclosure coming out right now?
All right, so aliens is probably one of the first rabbit holes I ever went down. Probably before I got quote unquote red pilled, I was going down the UFO and the alien thing. And alien abductee thing is very interesting. A lot of people dismiss it, but I would guess the people that dismiss it never really bothered looking into it because there's so much. Obviously, yeah, there's probably more misinformation in that subject than anything else, and that also should tell you that there's some truth to it because they invested a lot of time muddying the waters on that subject, which I think should tell you that there's some truth to it. I don't know if these characters exist in our dimension or not. I've heard different stories. I don't know. I do think we're going to see it in the near future. As it almost sounds silly, but I think it's happening in Peru. I think the stuff that was happening in Peru was, I saw enough reports that I can't dismiss it. It does make sense. It does fall in line with my theory. Not that my theory is correct or anything, but it does fall right in line with that because I remember researching the subject of cataclysm years and years ago. And there's a lot of sources that say when these cataclysms happen, the space aliens, I don't like that term, but that's the term everyone uses. The space aliens come down and pick the genetics that they want to survive, take them away until it's safe, and then they bring them back, like I said, like in the Garden of Eden, and replenish it. So I think, well, it's not that I think they're a part of this cataclysm. They're well documented by many people on the subject as being sort of the managers of this thing. And that also brings you back to these orphans and the replenishing of the human race through making your own, creating your own genetic stock. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they come back. There's a very interesting out in LA. I don't know if you know who Daryl Anka is, aka Bashar. He's a channeler.
Oh
A lot of people aren't into channeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim James wants.
He's a
wants to
he's a
see
goofy character, Bashar. But I've been watching Bashar. I haven't watched him in years, but about 20 years ago, I was tuning into Bashar, and I remember back then he was predicting that 2025 would be when the aliens make their appearance, and we're kind of right on schedule for that. Like it's really all starting to come out.
So
It's entertaining, that guy watching him channel. It's funny.
He is entertaining. Yeah.
It's very.
So
very
you
fun.
said 2025. Have you guys seen the whole Mexican alien that the Mexican president came out and it looks just like this?
Little Yoda dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think? You think Mexico's in on the disclosure now? And
Well, I will say this guy, according now, trust the sources at your own peril. But mainstream media is reporting that this guy has been attached to other bodies like this that turned out just to be children, etc. But I mean, it's what can you say? I mean, he claims that universities have analyzed the DNA, which if you believe the universities, 30% unknown DNA from this, 70% human-like, the rest not.
I would, the thing about the UFO disclosure, which I do think is coming, so what's interesting is there's a lot of people that are waking up now that immediately are saying, it's all going to be bullshit. It's all going to be fake. I think that's probably a better attitude to have. It's probably a better attitude to disbelieve all of it than to believe all of it. However, realistically, you have to use your critical thinking. Like, I think if it's coming out, anything that's being told you on the TV and the mainstream media is theater. I think that's a safe bet. Doesn't mean it's not true. It just means it's being told you specifically the way it is for a reason, because they know how we're going to like I said, they know us better than we know ourselves. So it's all for a reason. So having said that, you know, I think it's very smart to remain highly suspicious of all this stuff. But you know, the technology does exist. There are craft that fly like this. Is it man-made craft? It does seem like the Nazis were making this stuff way back in the day with the bell. So yes, I think a lot of it is man-made. Is some of it non-human? I think for sure. I believe in Bigfoot. You know, I think there's an underworld where all kinds of non-humans have been thriving for millennia. I can't prove that, but that seems to add up from my research. So, I mean, it doesn't really say much, but I guess if I were to guess, I would say, yeah, disclosure is coming, and they're going to tell us a story about aliens are real. As far as the actual details of what they tell us, they'll probably be mostly lies, I would guess.
Yeah, I agree. So I've had a woman on my other show, Zero, and she's talking about how she was basically taken to a craft. And you know, you want to dismiss it right there, but I tend to go, okay, I'm listening. And she met with some counsel, and they told her that and she's out of Australia. And they told her that the whole Project Bluebeam will be the government trying to convince you that they're the ones faking it. But in reality, it will be real. And there will be contact. And they want you, they want the government to make you, the government wants you to think they're faking it so you don't believe it.
Well, according to this, I think I know who she's referring to. There are several people that refer to a galactic council. That sounds... First time I heard that was decades ago, and I thought it was kind of goofy sounding. But I've read that from several different sources. It doesn't seem goofy to me anymore. But according to the Galactic Council, and it's always this is consistent, is that there are two factions, more than two, but there's two paths, you could say, spiritual paths of non-humans. There are those that are on the path of service to others, and there are those on the path to service to self, just like we are. And they both believe in the non-interference principle. They both play by the rules that we have to have free will, and so that they can only intervene when we call upon them and ask them. So whether it's like Aleister Crowley or Skull and Bones calling upon what a lot of people refer to as like the Orion group, which would be like the gray aliens and stuff. These would be the ones that the Nazis were in contact with. And so they would be helping service to self. So they would be helping these humans gain power, the Rothschilds, all this stuff. They would be helping them gain power and control over the rest of us. Whereas this Galactic Council claimed to be on the path of service to others, and they are simply here to help us as we ask them to evolve spiritually and grow. And according to them, they wouldn't come to us they would not come to us and, like your friend said, and say, we're here, you know, unless I guess things got so bad and this is what they said. I actually just read this recently, which covers it. This is part 3 of the book. I just read that recently, and that's one of many sources that talks about this. And according to this book, they're saying when it gets to a certain amount of humanity, when enough of us, when like they have a number, even like a percentage, when a certain percentage of us are all saying, help us, then they'll show up. So maybe your friend's information is accurate. Who knows? Well, and it kind of goes in line. If her information is accurate, then it would make sense that the governments would tell us it's all a lie.
Yeah, I 100% believe that. I mean, like, you know, my whole thing is like, you're totally right about these New World Order people being, knowing us really well and all this stuff. But I also believe there's a lot of man in the cave to it. And not that they don't have power, but sometimes they've done stuff to psychologically make us believe they have more power than maybe they do. You know, that's just my humble opinion. And that, the big thing now is they're going to shut down the internet. That's definitely possible. I'm not saying it's not being outside the, the realm of reality. They could shut down. But I also do believe that as much as if you believe in, I'm a Christian, but I also believe in the Hermetic principles. And I believe the law of duality, where there is light and there is dark. And if there is dark, and we believe there is dark, no matter if it's in the and I know this is a realm ran by Satan. I understand that if you listen to Christianity and all that stuff. But, if you look at if you're telling me there's people in Washington are all evil, there's got to be some good too. That's just the law of duality. I don't think these people are above the law of duality.
No, I agree 100%. In fact, I would argue, I understand what you're saying. The Christian teaches that the earth is ruled by Satan. I think that's blown out of proportion. I think a more honest interpretation is that the duality. It's simply like the yin yang, the idea of service to others, service to self. The idea that electricity requires both a negative and a positive pole for work and energy to occur. Same thing in this realm that we're in. In order for this realm to exist, it requires both the positive and the negative. I believe that these people who think they're in control, they are also being deceived. In fact, the great deception might even be referring more to them than the rest of us. And it makes sense, because if they're being assisted by these higher beings that are on a path of service to self, then why would you assume these higher beings are giving them a leg up? You would think that they're deceiving them as well. And the final thing I'll say, which is, I think on a positive note on the subject, is what I'm talking about with this shift from Pisces to Aquarius. This is like the end of the dark ages and the beginning of the golden age. So we are moving into a better time. And I do think we are seeing the death of a lot of ugly stuff. For example, the Hindus talk about these ages, the dark age and the light age, they call them the yugas. And they'll say we're in the Kali Yuga. And I heard he's not alive now, but an old sage, an ancient sage, taught that you'll know you're in the peak of the age of Aquarius, or at the age the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga. You'll know you're at the end of the Kali Yuga when children are being produced for consumption reasons. And that's exactly where we're at. I mean, you could look at the skin cream that women are putting on their faces made from fetal body parts, to the adrenochrome thing, which I don't know if that's true, but it certainly makes sense that people right now are consuming the young. So we are at the end of that age. I think we are seeing it die. This Phoenix event that I'm talking about kind of marks that moment. And so your children, I'm sure, are meant to probably be in the new age. And I'm not just trying to say that to be on your good side, but I would imagine, decent people are important for the new age. They're going to want the world populated with love, with the people that are seeing things more with love.
No, I agree with you. And there is something that it gets out of control, and there's a reset, and you're either going to be on the right side of it or the wrong side of it. And there's a lot of different play that could come from this event. Who knows what that event is? I don't want anyone to lose hope. I do believe, this whole thing is hope for the best, expect the worst, but, also know it's all going to be okay. That's my humble opinion. And, I agree with all this. It's so funny. Off the Grid Ryan, who's one of my really good friends, all he's been talking about is this Phoenix event all the time. He's been wanting people to talk about it, bring it out. And for me, man, it's just I think this is just a part of I believe we live in a world and is God, and not everyone is going, the big thing that I've learned, which is why with my Christianity, my spirituality is I'm really not trying to knock people over the head. This show's about us discussing topics and me giving my personal opinion on it. But I don't want to beat anybody over the head. If I'm a Christian, I don't care how you live your life as long as you don't hurt children. That's my consenting adults do whatever you want. And that's going to piss a bunch of people off. But, that's just me, dude. That's just me.
Well, I agree. First of all, I agree. And second of all, that's just being realistic. What are you going to do? For example, a lot of people are getting all up in arms about pedophilia thing, and I understand that it's disgusting, it's gross. I don't like to share any of these I don't share any of the. I get people will send me things with like drag time story hours, all this gross stuff. And my argument would be, how do you expect to stop all that? The only way you could stop that is to put a camera in everyone's home, monitor everyone 24/7, or better yet, take everyone's kids away, because you can't trust anyone, make sure they're safe. There's no way to stop evil. You just have to accept it. You have to be the best person that you can be. I don't like to, I notice a lot of people don't like to talk about the cataclysm. Some people do. I do. When I made my report, I got a text from Alex Jones, an audio message that was kind of funny because it emotionally affected him. Like he was just like laughing out loud. He was like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "I guess kiss your ass goodbye" or something like that. Like it kind of freaked him out.
I'm with you, dude. When you're talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I got to. But I do believe that everything is a plan, and everything is a part of God's plan. And
I agree with that.
Okay, so I have a question for you, and this we could lose you on this one: flat Earth, round Earth.
No, you're not going to lose me on that at all. I'm actually was asked to present at a Flat Earth festival this October in Vegas. I'm putting together a presentation for it. I might piss off some of the flat earthers because what I learned from it when I first started seeing videos on the subject back in 2014, it made me upset. So I understand why people get upset. It was pissing me off. I thought it was like disinfo. And then a friend of mine started posting them, so I called him up and I was like, "What are you doing? Are you fucking with people?" And he said, "Have you ever looked into it?" And so I was like, "No, okay, fine." So I looked into it, and it took me about 2 weeks. And at the time, I was, I worked for myself as a carpenter, so I could afford to like not work if I didn't want to work. And so I took like a solid. No, that's not true. At the time, I was at the ashram, so I was just at the ashram. So I spent like a deep 2 weeks, and it was the funnest experience I've ever had in my life, because what I realized is I don't know where I am. What I realized is that the surface is definitely flat. If you don't know that the surface of the earth is flat, then that means you either haven't looked into it or you're incapable of doing the math, and I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. A lot of people hate math and they don't even want to try doing the math. And you, in my opinion, you really do have to do the math yourself to work it out, to see what it should look like. Once you do that, you realize there's no curvature on the surface at all. There's no, and science has known that for centuries. And if you look into it, you'll find that like we're sort of conditioned to think that it was science that proved to religion. Like religion thought the earth was flat and science disproved that. That's actually, you can go into Wikipedia and you can find out that's not true. It was the Jesuits that forced the round earth model on us.
Yes.
So that's the church. And it was and the Protestants. It was the Church of England who made sure it was taught in schools. It was the scientific community that was saying like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? This is crazy." So what I think is, first of all, what I learned is I don't know where I am. A lot of people I've noticed in the flat earth community, they all of a sudden think that they know everything and they think that everyone else is stupid idiots, which I think that's a little short-sighted, because I would like to say, well, weren't you one of those stupid idiots at one point? So it's not really fair to say everyone's a stupid idiot because they don't realize that the earth is, at least the surface of the earth is flat, right? You have to be a little more kind and compassionate. And it is kind of a big deal. To expect that everyone's going to get on board with that is unrealistic. So I usually keep it to myself. I did do a flat earth video a few years ago for InfoWars called "Is Antarctica the Key to Flat Earth?" I do believe the surface of the earth is flat. I think we're inside. I think we're inside of a sphere. In fact, I'll tell you exactly where I think.
That's
interesting.
He's saying the surface is flat, which I keep wondering what he means by that.
All right, I'll tell you. This is the tree of life taught by the Kabbalah.
Yes.
The Kabbalah tell you that this is a map of the human body and of the universe that we live in. You can see the human body. You can see the chakras. You can see the arms. You see the human body.
Yeah.
But you don't see, before I got into the flat earth, I was like, well, that's interesting because Kabbalah is so exact. Like you could say it's evil, you could say it's stupid, whatever. What you can't say is it's stupid and simple-minded. You need to have like I gave it up because it was too much for my head. Like you have to do a ton of math, but it all checks out. But according to Kabbalah, we're inside of Malkuth, right at the bottom here. Malkuth is a sphere. These are all spheres, and these spheres represent different planets. You can see the planet symbols. You can see there's, what is that, Venus?
Yeah.
There's Mars. And so they say is the moon. They say we're inside of Malkuth, and we're stuck in here, and we're on a flat surface. So what I mean by a flat surface is just figure, put a flat line right there. Boom, flat surface. So you have the air above us, our atmosphere, and then you have the underworld, where all these creatures live and stuff. And according to and that Kabbalah, that checks out with what these people are saying too, which is basically we're in a spiritual realm and we're here to grow. And the only way you get out of this level, you notice there's all these other levels above us. And you've also noticed if you were to look through a transparent dome or whatever you want to call it, that's what you see. You see what I just showed you right there. These things never go on us. They dip below the horizon a little bit. They dip out of sight a little bit, but they never go beneath us. So we're at the bottom of it all. Everything's above us. According to the Kabbalists, specifically this one right here, Dion Fortune, according to her, you're reincarnated and over and over again in Malkuth until you learn your lessons. And once you learn your lessons, and the lesson to be learned is love and compassion and understanding. Once you learn that, then you transcend from this realm into one of these other spheroids where you then start your next lesson. Bam. So that's going to be my presentation in Vegas. And I'm going to open it up by saying, obviously, I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a guy in the cheap seats who's read a bunch of books and watched a bunch of videos and, goes with my gut.
I love it.
If I were to guess, I would say that's where we're at. We're inside of Malkuth, inside of a sphere on a flat surface. The worst thing about flat Earth is the term flat Earth, because that obviously puts into everyone's heads this pizza pie thing, which I agree is ridiculous. And I understand why people laugh at flat earthers, because that's what people think. They think pizza pie.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, is that top of that ball that you're saying that we're in? Is that the firmament? Do you believe?
Yes, I would say that's the firmament.
And between us and the other orbs, is that space? Is that?
I would say it's space, but I would say it's not the space we're shown. I did a video on my Substack also about how space is fake, and I do believe there's. Yeah. I mean, because there's definitely enough evidence that shows you that what they're showing us is space is fake. And they're laughing at us even. It's a joke. But I do think there is a space, like all the stuff I showed in the Tree of Life, all that, whatever you want to call it, dark matter, whatever. When you look at stars and planets through a real telescope, even like the highest quality telescope, they look like you're looking at something that could be through glass or in water or something.
Liquid, bro. Liquid. Yeah.
And the Bible, I think, calls it the waters above. So I wouldn't be surprised if outside of these spheres, there is some type of water. I mean, we're in water now. We're basically like fish swimming in water here on Earth, because our atmosphere is made up of not just the oceans and the lakes, but the atmosphere that we're living in has moisture. If it didn't, we would dry up and be like crackers.
Sorry, so impenetrable, would you say the
dome?
Yeah, the dome.
Yes, I would say. And this is just the reason I say this is because there does seem to be a lot of, I guess, circumstantial evidence would be the word. Like Operation Fishbowl and stuff like that. It looks like they were trying to crack the dome open.
Yeah.
And then that check that with the ancient teachings of Kabbalah, which goes back to, you mentioned the Hermetic sciences. I mean, this all goes back to, you can trace it all back to Egyptian knowledge, which is where actually these people claim to be the ones that were giving Egypt all their knowledge. And all these different sources say the same thing. They say that we're stuck in here. And some people think that's a bad thing. I have a lot of close friends of mine that are all on the same page as me when it comes to this, and they think we're in hell and we're in a prison. I don't feel that way. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I believe in spiritual growth. I believe in, well, first of all, I don't necessarily believe in anything, but if you were to force a gun to my head and tell me, pick a side, pick a belief, because I choose to be as agnostic and as open-minded as possible so that I could get as much information. So that's a choice that I make. But
I understand.
If I was backed up against a wall and I had to say what I think it is, which is kind of what I'm doing here today, then I would say, yeah, we're in here to become the best people that we could be, to learn how to love each other, to learn how to stop judging each other and stop judging ourselves, to learn to sort of be balanced in that yin and yang, to be in the middle of the light and the dark, right there in the sweet spot, in a nice, balanced equanimity. And that's the lesson that we're learning here. And if you don't learn it, then you just get recycled until you do.
Yeah.
But in the end, everyone figures it out eventually.
It's like, my whole, like, listen, I'm now starting to read the Bible. I just got my Bible, and my buddy's going to take me through it. I'm going to start reading that because I'm interested. And then maybe after that, I'll read like the Torah. And then I'm interested in learning it all and then seeing what fits.
I think it's smart. That's what I've been doing for years. They call that comparative study, I think, with religions. And there's a guy named Samael Amvior, who's a Colombian. He's not alive anymore, but he was the founder of the modern Gnostic church, not the Greek Gnostics, but it was a South American movement called Gnosticism. And that's what he taught. He said, if you want to find the truth, and I think this is the best advice you could give anyone. He would say, if you want to find the truth, first of all, you have to study as many different sources as possible, find the commonalities, ignore the differences, find the commonalities. Once you find the commonalities that they're all saying, you still haven't found the truth. At that point, you then have to quiet your mind, go within, and check with your own heart. And that is the closest you're ever going to come to the truth. And still, even then, it's just a leap of faith.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's been a great time, Greg. You knocked it out of the park. I appreciate you coming slumming with us. It was a fun conversation. You didn't, I was expecting a lot, and you knocked it out of the park, and it was great. So one more time, tell our listeners where they could find you and anything else you want them to know.
Well, I agree completely. I had a lot of fun. You guys are cool. You can't talk like this stuff with everyone, For example, a lot of the stuff I was getting into with the last bits, pulling up these books, I get a lot of heat on my Substack for talking about this because people say I'm going to hell and, all this stuff is evil and it's of the devil, but I don't believe knowledge is evil. I believe your actions are either good or evil. I believe what's inside of. I believe if you want to find evil, you got to look within you and stuff. So anyways, it was a pleasure. So yeah, if you want to find my stuff, the best place to go is my Substack. That's what I'm pushing the most. You can go to Substack, search Reese Report. I think the name on there is actually Greg Reese on Substack. If you want to find all my links, go to reesereport.com. Band.video has the most comprehensive list of videos. And I'll be in Vegas for Flattoberfest, the 20th through 23rd this October.
I love it. I love it,
yeah.
Man.
Should we go to Flattoberfest?
I'm not against it. I
could even come out and hang out with you guys in LA while I'm there. I could come early because I'm going to be so close. So I could grab a rental car.
I'm down, dude. Let's make it happen. Yep. Let's make it happen. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this show. It was, I've been waiting to do the show, and it was exactly what I wanted, so I'm very excited. Again, go to SamTripoli.com for all of my dates. New dates are being added all the time. I'm very thankful that people are coming out to the show. Thank you for everybody who said nice things about my Rogan appearance. And again, check out our affiliates. We're only working with people we believe in. I took some affiliates down because it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. So they're not there. I'm always working on giving you guys the best that I can give. Okay. So check out the affiliates, get discounts on what they're doing. It's just stuff you need to survive and be vibrate at a higher level. And then finally, stay tuned for all of these sneak peeks into all my other shows, man. My numbers are up across the board. People are watching and we love it. Keep watching. keep loving. And I without you guys, we'd be just talking to ourselves. I love you guys all so much. So enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
My brother's not a cutthroat guy. He's more of a chill dude.
Yeah, you have
He
to be a
loves going to the gym.
sociopath to do to be like a CEO of
Right. That's not my brother. My brother's chill, and he's got double earrings. I'm like, I really want to do that. I really want to do that. But anyways.
Wait, he's
so
got
we go
earrings in
there-
both ears?
What?
He's got earrings in both ears?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
What do you mean that's interesting?
Well, I what I'm thinking in my head was like, there was a while they said, okay, this one means you're gay. Oh, this one means you're gay. And I think the move is if you're not sure which one means you're gay, just get both done.
Yeah, but so Johnny, what you're saying is that this one means you're gay, this one means you're gay, but if you get both, that means you're gay, which means you're straight.
Exactly. It cancels each other out.
Yeah. So now you're super straight. That's how you do it, bro. You don't get one ear and you get how gay are you? I'm so gay, I'm straight. That's how gay it is. All right. So he goes there and we get there and my brother's like, oh, we have this giant event tonight. And so we go in there, all the staff is like, oh, so my brother's known as Trip. He doesn't go by his real name. He goes by Trip, which is his nickname.
Not Trips, just because you've been called Trips.
And he got mad at me this weekend. He goes, it's Trip, not Trips. Okay. Could you do it? I'm like, okay. All right.
Wait, so you call him Trips?
I call him Jason.
Okay. Who is correct? Who is he correcting?
Me.
But
because when I'm at his work, they know him as Trip. So, but I was calling him Trips.
Oh, I see. Okay.
To and other he's like, people. It's not Trips. It's Trip. I go, no, it's Jason, and you're an idiot. Okay. Because I have to check my brother once. Wow. Because he's a retard, right?
Do you guys argue a lot?
Not like we used to. I mean, the last time I was there, I asked him to go outside to fight.
About what? Why didn't you talk about that? What did you almost fight about?
Not this time, but the time before that, I was in the living room.
You didn't tell us about that. What happened?
Because my mom was sleeping in her room. I was in the living room. I'm talking to Dana. My brother decides to come up and grab something to eat. And he goes, hey, man, could you be quiet? Mom's sleeping. I go, whatever, dude. Let me finish the call. And he just went nuts on me and grabbed me. And I go, bro, I go, outside. Out fucking side right now. And I'm texting. I'm like, come outside so I can beat your fucking ass. Come outside.
So you went outside and started texting him to come out?
Yeah. Because I didn't want to upset my mom. Because we were like, I put him in a tie clinch, which was going to be devastation time for him.
Wait, he did come outside?
No, he didn't.
Oh,
in the living room, I put him in a tie clinch. And I did. My mom has just antiques everywhere. I didn't want to mess anything up. I didn't want my mom to lose it because my mom would lose it. Any turbulence with my mother makes her question her existence. Like you're like, hey, dude, I don't like pizza. What have I done wrong with you? What? You're like, that's my mom, right? Like, oh my God, I thought you were so hungry. I'm like, Mom, I just want mushrooms on my pizza. That's my mother. So I'm like, I gotta see you outside. Come outside and come get some. Tough guy comes in. He wouldn't come outside because no matter how much my brother acts like he's a tough guy, I whooped his ass so much as a kid. It's still in there. It's still in there. I used to take I told you this before. We would make up new belts for my brother to have just so I could take his belt from him in wrestling.
What? What? So he was like the Intercontinental Champion, and
I'd be like, "You are the new ABF champion," and then I would whip his ass. I'd be like, "And new ABF champion."
That's so bad, dude.
So I go to Ithaca, right? And I go in there, and we're sitting there, and then everybody starts to lose. They're like, "Oh my God, he's here! He's here!" I'm like, "What?" They're like, my brother's like, "Oh my God, you won't guess who's here." I go, "Who?" He goes, "Bill Nye the Science Guy."
What?
I go, "What?" I go, "What?" Well, it turns out he went to Cornell and they were having a Cornell Frisbee football 50-year reunion. For 50 years, Cornell's been doing Frisbee football. And he comes in and bro, when I tell you this guy's got he looks like, do you remember like in Hanna-Barbera cartoons, the vulture?
Yeah.
Where he had like the big like hunchback.
Yeah.
That is Bill Nye. Bill Nye has like a turtle shell at the top
Oh, it's so interesting.
Right?
See, I loved him as a kid. I get why people were kind of speaking of him in hushed tones because as a kid he was huge.
Going nuts. There's no way that guy can't get young chicks because these young girls who all went to Cornell were freaking out that Bill Nye, the science guy, who's not a science guy at all,
Bill Nye, the science guy,
right? And they're freaking out. He is like nerd dork royalty.
Yeah, it's him and like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Those two are
I mean, like two of the worst.
Oh, they're terrible.
And like my mom's like, oh, Bill Nye science guy's here. I'm like, Mom, he's not a solid guy. She's like, stop it right now, Sam. Please stop it. Don't do this, Sam. Not with me here. Do not do that. Okay. I'm not in the mood for you to question Bill Nye right now. Okay. People are happy. Let them enjoy it. But it was a nerd dork fest. And Bill Nye was king of the dorks. It was unbelievable. It goes back to like how they say famous people all have huge skulls. He had a huge skull. He looked like a bobblehead on top of his weird posture.
You have a big head,
crazy. Right? What?
You have a big head, right?
Hey guys, you guys know tinfoil hats for the people. We want people to live a better life and get stuff in positive vibrational stuff in their life. So we want to tell you about some of our affiliate programs real quick. We got Wise Wolf, Gold and Silver. If you're looking for precious metals, these are the best in the business, okay? I'm part of this Wise Wolf package program. I spend a certain amount of money every month and they send me precious metals and I love it. It's a great way to get ready for the financial collapse. We have AquaCure hydrogen brown gas. Listen, we've talked about before. If you want to look younger, it's a great way. Check it out. You click the banner. You use the promo code tinfoil hat. Our friends at Harley Ray candles and crystals. Go check it out. If you use Swarm 15, you'll get 15% off. They got candles. They have click on it real quick.
Sage.
Crystals. They got crystals. They got everything you might need. And all you gotta do is use the promo. Look at that one right there. I want to get that aqua blue. I should just ask them to send it to us. Aqua blue at $55 promo code Swarm 15, you get 15% off that. Very excited to be working with Tim James over at Chemical Free Body. That's right. Get 5% off all of his products, everything he's doing with the promo code tinfoil hat. I love his vitamins and nutrients. I take them all the time. They are the best, and it helps me get my body going. And if you're looking to lose weight, let's say you're a busy dad, busy mom out there, go check out Joel Staley. He's helped me lose weight. He's got a whole program to lose weight, get in shape, all that stuff. Just click the banner and use the promo code tinfoil hat, 3 words, and you can get in shape. It worked for me. It can work for you. Hope you guys enjoy these, and check out the highlights.
And now, a highlight from Cash Daddies.
Yeah, you know what? I've been there. I've done that with the home flipping, and there's a lot that goes into it. Logistically, I mean, it's tough. You're dealing with contractors. You're dealing with lots of different choices, lots of unknowns that come up during the process. The whole thing is unknowns, pretty much. And I'm not saying you can't make money with it, because a lot of people do, and a lot of people have, and we did as well. But I think there's easier ways. I don't think it's a real beginner way to get involved in real estate investing. They make it look really easy on HGTV and all these shows. And some people really resonate with that kind of stuff. But I think there's easier ways to invest than that, at least initially, before. So you don't have to deal with all that stuff,
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
Go on.
What kind of land do you buy? You talk about land flipping. Is it farmland, regular, development? What are you doing?
Yeah, we're doing it all. But for the most part, most of these properties are rural properties, 5 to 10 acres plus. A lot of them are an hour or two outside of a major metropolitan area.
And like I said, I don't deal with properties here in Southern California because the prices are crazy. And most of the good properties are already built on and developed anyhow. But East Coast, Midwest, South, like all of those areas are pretty prime for what we do. And our model is set up in a way that I don't have to go out to any of these properties ever. You know, we have a photographer that goes, checks out the properties. We resell things through a broker. It's not a situation where I ever have to actually go see any of these properties. So I can tell so much from just from behind my computer screen what these properties are all about. And yeah, I mean, these are properties that generally would be something that maybe someone would buy as a recreational property, or they might buy it as a potential home site, or they might buy it as something like, hey, I'm going to put a mobile home on here or manufactured home and live here, you know, and commute to work whenever I have to, you know. So that's a lot of our buyers would end up doing something like that.
Go ahead, Sam.
What is the best deal you ever made? What was the best one you know, where you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing?
Yeah, well, there's been a number of them that have been like that. You know, as far as a profit percentage one, I just actually kind of detailed one that we did on a recent podcast episode. As far as profit goes, I think the best return on investment I have is like 320% return in 44 days. So that was a situation, I think, on that property. That was a really inexpensive property. So we bought it for $8,000 and we sold it for almost $50,000, I think, or 40 something $1,000 after, you know, commissions and closing costs and everything like that. And we only held it for 44 days. So that was a really good return. We've had properties where we've made over 100,000 in about 30, 40 days, you know, but, you know, we had to invest more in order to make that as well.
That is nice.
That's
a good return.
What do you think the best parts of the country are right now?
Yeah, I love the East Coast. East Coast, anywhere, you know, anywhere from kind of the Bend and New York down to Florida. There's a lot of good opportunities there. And the Midwest, there's some good stuff too. I know a lot of people that just focus on states like Texas or Oklahoma, and they just find their niche there and they really learn the areas really well and just do all of their business there. I mean, we do pretty much all over the place, and we love to kind of get great contacts in a certain area and do more and more business in those areas. But there's a lot of opportunity everywhere. I mean, I think there's some states that I probably would stay away from, you know, maybe like Alaska or New Mexico or something like that. But
why New Mexico?
I just have an aversion to New Mexico. I feel weird.
Are you just old school? You prefer old Mexico?
Yeah. I like the old Mexico better. That's right. Some great resorts there.
What do you ever get a sense where it's like, oh man, this might go our way really good? Like, is there anything like, you know, to me, it's got to be kind of like gambling, right? Where you're just, you're gambling and then suddenly you're just like, oh man, I feel it. This is it. Yeah. This could be a really good run. What are the signs where like, you're like, oh man, this might be a good one. This might be a real good deal for us.
Yeah. Well, we try to figure that out. We try to figure that out during the buying process because it takes a little while to close. You know, we get under contract. Then we have a process where we do our due diligence, we call it, and we really research the property in depth. We're getting an opinion from a broker. We're getting the photographer out there. And, you know, when the photos come back and it's way nicer than we thought, and the broker comes back and says, oh, I think I could sell it for this, which is way more than what you thought. And so some of those things really start lining up. And, you know, sometimes it really works out well. I mean, I've had some where they don't work out well, but I've never lost any money yet, knock on wood, but I have some.
Well, that's great. How long you've been doing this? What, 20 years?
No, just land flipping for about 3 years now, almost 3 years.
Well, that's still, I mean, that's amazing.
A couple hundred deals. So
a couple hundred deals, and it's never gone really, I mean, like horribly bad. I mean, what is the worst?
The worst I made $500 of one. So that's the worst profit percentage. Yeah.
That's
crazy,
still
right?
not that bad. I mean, I was selling cryptos and making $500 and high-fiving everybody. I mean, so that's not that bad. That's pretty good. What was that deal?
Oh, you know, it was one of these deals. Well, there's a couple of them that have been right around there, you know, like $500 to $1,000 that I made. You know, like one of them in particular, it was a property I thought we were actually going to do really well on. And what happened was we set I think we listed it for maybe like 59,000. We bought it for like 20 some thousand. We listed it for 59,000, and we had to keep reducing it because, you know, people would go and see the property and they just weren't interested, and they weren't interested. Come to find, we ended up selling it for, you know, $500 or $1,000 profit at the end after holding it for a year and kind of messing around with it for that long. But the problem was that it had road frontage, meaning the property was against a public roadway, but there was like almost like a rock cliff along the road. So there's no real way to access the property unless you had dynamite or, you know, some ropes to climb up on it. So I should have realized that, you know, but after looking at the photographer pictures, but I didn't, you know, I missed it.
Is that part of not visiting these properties? Is that kind of one of the downfalls and has that happened to you enough to be like, maybe I should come see these properties? I mean, it seems crazy to me.
It would be tough for me to, you know, like we always send out someone, you know, we always send out a photographer. I just wasn't paying attention enough. They put, I mean, in hindsight, they put it in their notes like, oh, access is really difficult for this property and all this stuff, but I just didn't pay attention. So, you know, we try to learn our lessons about that kind of stuff along the way.
What are some of the things you look at that make you want to say this, we're going to buy this thing? What do you look at to purchase a property, a good property?
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Tinfoil hack.